Hello and welcome to Fantasy Friendship. I'm your host, Steve Alanich, joined by my co-host, Logan Murata, and our guest today, Steve Gustavson. Steve, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, it's good to see you guys, and it's good to have my Pepsi before we start because of the 2-hour time difference. So
it's an early morning Pepsi on the western border.
Yeah, the 9 o'clock is early for me, unfortunately, but except if I have a 6 a.m. call time in 60 miles south in San Jose, California or something, then I'm really, 9 o'clock is like waking up at noon.
I feel you there. We're lucky that we're in the Midwest and we're doing a midday podcast on our end.
Yep.
If you don't know, Steve acted in what I think is fair to call a cult classic movie, Birdemic, Shock and Terror, along with its sequel. And before we jump into the specifics, do you want to just tell us a little bit about your overall thoughts on the film?
Overall thoughts of the film, yeah. Before and after, I realized that it got written up in the New York Times in 2010, which was quite unbelievable. My first thought of Birdemic was I didn't know what it was. I got a call out of the blue from James Wynn, and I got a side to read for Tree Hugger. The 2-page script, it was kind of poorly written. It was a little, not to be critical, it was a little bit in broken English, so I cleaned it up a little bit and I read it and I thought, well, I'm new at acting. This is 2008. I'm not union yet. I was just doing theater at the time, and I was submitting for any short film that might come about. And he contacted me while I was up at my sister's in Portland, Oregon, and visiting. And I read the side, and I said, "Well, I'll read for you. I'll read for you because you want to have a resume filler as an actor when you're new, right?" And I read the script, and I didn't really know what the movie was about. I saw the title was Birdemic. The only part of the dialogue I saw was my what you call a side, or the side for the audition, and you know what the scene entails. I'm basically Professor Tom Hill coming out of my office in the tree, lecturing some children and adults carrying machine guns and drinking Kirkland brand water from Costco about global warming. So, I know at the time, Al Gore's film was quite prevalent. And I thought, well, this guy just wants to do a film about, expounding on the global warming threat. And I thought, well, that's pretty smart. He's coattailing maybe Al Gore's thing. And sure enough, when I saw the movie for the first time, I think they referenced that film, don't they? Yeah,
I know they have that news segment.
The newscast, I think, says it, right?
The newscast, and then there's a couple that's friends with Rod.
They went on a date to go watch the movie, right?
Yeah,
that's what happened.
It was like a double date. It was a double date. So I thought, oh yeah, he was thinking about Al Gore's movie. Now, if I'm going off on tangents, which I tend to do, your question was, what did I think of the movie? Well, I auditioned for it, and James. Wait a minute. Can I correct that?
Yeah.
I think he sent me the side and asked me if I wanted to do the part, but he never made me read. No, this is funny. I never actually did a reading. I think he liked my look. And so I didn't actually do a taped reading, and he could correct me if I'm wrong. But that same day, I'm still in Portland and walking with my nephew, who's now going to Oregon State, or Sam Hillmore. I can't believe he's now going to college. But all of a sudden, I get a call back on my cell phone. Back then, it was probably a Nokia, not an iPhone. And, where you had to do you guys ever have a flip phone?
The T9 word,
yeah.
And you're trying to make out the word.
Oh, damn, the S is 3 hits, So
forever.
I get a call back, and James calls me from a wig store. And
he was at the wig store?
Yeah.
Like getting stuff for the movie, or?
Yeah, for your wig?
He was buying a wig for Tree Hugger, Tom Hill, and he just wanted me to describe my, or what, are you an olive skin, or, and I don't know. So I ended up, he got a wig, a shade that was probably a little dark, but I still have that wig somewhere. And by the way, it's the same wig in the second one, and you can tell because it had been sitting in a storage box for 4 years, and it was really disheveled. And in the first one, Whitney Moore helped do the helped me keep it on my head, and she did makeup. But in the second one, I didn't have Whitney to do that, so I looked pretty unkempt in the second one. Not that I looked like George Clooney in the first one, but so yeah. James called. I told him, gave him a vague description of my skin tone. I just said, hey, I'm a shade junkie. I'm pretty pale. I got the allergic shiners under my eyes, and he got the wig. And so the next thing I knew, I was back in California. We had to meet in Half Moon Bay. Do you know where that is? That's where the film was shot. And got there. And the story was I met them at a 7-Eleven. Turns out that's where in the business, when you get, at least in a union film, this wasn't union by any means. I wasn't in the union yet, but you have craft services and some food and meals. So James' craft services was 7-Eleven donuts. So they were actually pretty good. I'm a donut fan, I must admit. So we met at this 7-Eleven, and then I think Whitney was the first one I saw, and I said, so who's James Wynn? And he was sitting in this little, what do you call those, minivans?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, you saw the van in the movie. That's James's van. That's how low budget this was.
Okay, and is this the same van that he used like for the promotion of the movie?
In Sundance?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we can get more into that in a little bit too.
Yeah,
but
that's the 1990s paint where the people left it in the sun and you get all those faded spots on the paint.
Yeah.
That's James's van. And in the second one, he upgraded to his BMW convertible. So I guess he made some money on the first one. I don't know. I know he's also a software salesman, is my understanding. So, okay, so then we went into the forest. You want me to just tell you the whole experience that I remember? Or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So, he had it was one shot, one camera. So he had to do both sides. You guys have seen the scene.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have a dolly rail or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't pan. So he did one side first. So I had to do my lines while they were doing their lines. And I think I was after them, and because there's two kids in that movie.
Right.
And so I come down the trail. I said, peace, man. And then, it's like, I start doing my monologue about damn global warming. It's kind of funny. It's a little bit of a sidetrack. He's right about some of this stuff, because I recently saw California's lieutenant governor. She recently did a thing about global warming, and she did a lecture on beetles invading trees. And I thought, wow,
I warned you about that a decade ago.
Yeah. Birdemic did it first.
Birdemic knew about the spruce bark beetle. I can't protect the trees from that. I can protect them from wildfires and, careless campers and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I finally get to start doing my lines, and I'm theater trained, and you kind of want to work off energy of the other actors. And I'm looking at Whitney was so professional. She did the makeup, the hair. Alan was Alan, and the kids. I'm doing this. The kids are supposed to be so excited. Oh my God, there's a tree house up there, and there's this guy who lives in it, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm doing my monologue, and they look like this. And for your viewers or your listeners, not viewers, I just gave a really bored eye roll look. And I'm thinking, oh my God, in the theater, I would just ask the director, would you please, because you never should direct another actor.
Yeah.
Give me something. To give me my energy, I want to emote. I want to play off your fascination with the knowledge of Tom Hill. The kids were getting really bored. There is a funny thing I think I said it before in another interview. So Rod's standing there with a toy gun, right? We're in a state, I don't know what Half Moon Bay Park is. we have national parks, we have state
Mhm.
parks. I
Yeah.
think it was a state park. And all of a sudden, there's a ranger driving over where we're filming. James sees that and he says, "Oh, hey." And then Rod's standing there with a gun. I'm there in a wig looking at these bored kids. Whitney's being, cool and just standing there, kind of listening, taking it in. And James is all, "Oh, there's a ranger up there." And then, okay, again, Rod's holding a gun, right? A toy gun. And what does James say? "Pretend we're on a picnic." So it's like, yeah, a picnic with water and toy guns.
Yeah.
Luckily, the ranger didn't stop. I guess we were just a blip on the screen. But the thing is, James didn't get any, to my knowledge. I have a legal training, you could probably tell. To my knowledge, no permits, nothing, he didn't get permits to film there.
Yeah.
And then the funny thing is, a lot of people say, "What was it like filming Birdemic?" Now, Alan Bagh it's Bagh, right? Alan Bach. I'm sorry, Alan. I hadn't seen you in like 5 years. Alan and Whitney were with James. I mean, they're the lead characters. So people ask me, "What was your experience working on this film?" That scene, I got there at 9:00 at the 7-Eleven. I had one donut, maybe two, then coffee, went over there. We did the lines, and the kids were bored, might imply we were there for 5 hours, but we were only there for about 2.5 hours. And then he thanked me, and in parting, he said, "Oh, you can keep the wig."
Was that your payment? Did you get paid in a wig?
I got the wig and a token check.
There you
Nice.
go.
Yeah, I used that check for my 401k. So
There you
Very
go.
that would lead into the story about payment in the next film, which is kind of funny because any questions about this part of the original? Because there was a premiere too. The first film got distribution. So
Yeah.
you
So
probably see in the first film, Severin is the logo, and Severin is my understanding, they're still in business, super nice people. They promoted the movie. I was brought in to do an interview at the Roxy Theater in San Francisco. It was Evan Husney and Bobby Hacker. I think they both worked for Severin at the time. Bobby ended up helping James on the second film. These guys were great. And we might get into this when we get into the second one. I think they were a little sore at me, and we can go over that too.
So how many takes did you do? I know you said lots of 2.5
Yeah.
hours. Was it only a couple of takes?
So yeah, that's the other thing. So you realize my takes when the camera was facing me, to my recollection, not to brag, but I nailed it. I did fix my lines. He didn't. I don't even think he noticed because I know Alan said in maybe it was. They got a lot of airplay, including CBS Morning News one year, and there was this buzz that James wouldn't let people fix the broken English in the script. Well, listen to my dialogue. I did not. I fixed my broken English.
yeah.
So I went in there, and it was a lengthy monologue, but I think to answer your question, I think he wanted about three or four.
Oh, wow.
And that's probably why the kids were getting bored. And remember, the movie came out in 2010. That was filmed in 2008. So I'm 12 years older now than that. Wow, that's a long time ago. And it knew so much about the future.
It predicted about the Beatles and
Yeah.
The pandemic, maybe.
so do you think I actually reached out to a forum to get some questions too to see if other fans of Birdemic had questions I didn't think of. And one was about the script and how a lot of it wasn't normal conversation as you might expect to have happen.
Right.
Do you think a lot of that is because of the broken English in the script and people either going just based off just those words that are given to them or ad-libbing in a way that wasn't the probably perfect way?
Well, that's the point. He didn't allow. I fixed English. Well, I hope this doesn't deter other directors from working with me because I normally wouldn't do this. But I put my script into a Word document and I edited all, the broken English out. But as far as ad-libbing, there was none. I don't think anyone did ad-libbing. So the question from your listener was, they noticed can you are they saying it wasn't that organic?
Yeah, they're essentially saying that the conversations didn't flow like you'd anticipate a normal conversation between two folks would. And they're asking about if that was the script or if that was maybe a language barrier.
I don't think it was a language barrier. I think some of it was, and not to criticize, but a lot of, I am a trained actor, and there were other trained actors in the movie. My friend Eric Swartz was the CEO. He's been in the business for decades. He also does jingles. Really nice man. Sean was the name of this. Who's the doctor?
Ooh.
Oh, Dr. Jones, maybe, or what?
Yeah,
He's
something.
trained. When you come down to when the kids are, okay, I have an example. So in my scene, hey, do you want to check out my treehouse or something like that? And the boy says, yes, that would be fun. Well, yeah, that's the line. He's not ad-libbing. He's just not, I don't want to be insulting, but the kid didn't.
I think you're fine. He didn't have the practice or the training.
He didn't have the training.
Yeah.
He didn't have the training. And I see that a lot with some of my actor friends. I had a lot of theater training and over the years, and I'm now in the Screen Actors Guild, but I did not want to join the Screen Actors Guild until I had because I was strictly theater. Birdemic was maybe my second short. I thought it would be a short film, to be honest. I didn't know it was going to be a feature. What you want to do is you want to build a resume before you join SAG, because once you get into SAG, you're limited. It's better opportunities, but you're in a much smaller pool with a much more competitive base. And I'm in San Francisco, guys. I'm not in LA. It's not a big market. We're
in Omaha here. So.
Yeah, Nebraska has a SAG office somewhere, and there's SAG people in your area too, but they're in the same boat I am. It's just I would think it's a smaller market.
Yeah. So you saw this kind of as a stepping stone opportunity to kind of get you more into movies. So.
Well, yeah. When you start submitting on these boards, like I use Actors Access now. Back then, I think James's film was maybe on. I think I submitted for it, but I'm not even sure anymore. Or if he just found my profile, but it was called Now Casting. Yeah, you submit, and when you get an offer out of the blue like that, what are you supposed to do? I haven't taken everything though. There was, I don't know when it was, but it was actually a short film union film, and maybe I'm a prude, I don't know, but the part was disparaging. It was very, this is not James, this is somebody else. I was this guy at a dumpster, like a homeless guy, and I was disparaging women and children, and I saw the script, and maybe as an actor you should do all these other things. Like I always admire like Sam Rockwell in The Green Mile, was it? Because he played a rapist. Did you ever see Dirty Harry with
Clint Eastwood?
When I was a kid, Andy Robinson scared the crap out of me. Andy Robinson is a phenomenal character actor, but he played Scorpio or whatever in that movie, and he was so scary. But I just opted not to do this homeless guy who was such a, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Like you don't want to be recognized as that role where it's like, hey, like that's the guy who was the, creepy, mean dumpster guy. It's like,
I think I would do it, but this dialogue was so over the top offensive. I thought, what's the point? I guess everyone has a point where it's just no, right?
Right.
So back to the point about Birdemic. Yeah, it was a resume builder, and out of the blue, then I know James had a viewing party. I didn't go. That would have probably been in late 2009. And then I don't know how I found out, but somebody said, there's a write-up on that film you worked on in the New York Times. Did you see that article?
I remember the article. I haven't read it recently, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's 10 years old. I mean,
So I was watching an interview with Alan. I think he did with like BuzzFeed News. Is it true? Did the movie first go up on YouTube? Like I know they might have had a premiere and stuff, but did it go up on YouTube first that you know of, or?
I don't recall that.
Okay.
But
I remember there was something about, maybe it was just clips were kind of going viral, or people talking about it kind of went viral on YouTube, and that kind of, initially gave it its success. Was it
that's
right
yeah.
when the movie came out, it kind of blew up, or was it maybe a year after? Or
The movie ended up coming out in 2010, and I think that New York Times article is just
yeah, kind of what put it on the map. And
put it on the map. But I'm not. But at the same time, he was already writing about how it was becoming a cult sensation. So it's such an enigmatic thing, because it is a cult class. It kind of is a cult classic, right?
yeah,
But if I'm in a room of 10 people, 2 of them may know of it.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
a niche cult classic. It's a midnight viewing crowd cult classic. That's how I
Yeah.
label it. It never got to like the mainstream that, I mean, I guess they made Sharknado after it, and a lot of people
Yeah.
know that
Mhm.
because honestly, Sharknado, I've never seen it, but my understanding is it's just a spin. It's just a capitalization of using old TV talent, and it's a replicate of Birdemic. And then the funny thing is, I love Schitt's Creek.
Hmm.
Mhm.
I haven't seen the whole series yet, but I read recently that the mom had a movie that was similar to Birdemic in the show that she made. The other funny thing about Birdemic is it stays in the news. I
Yeah.
mean, if you do a news search on newsgoogle.com, someone's going to like compare a new movie to like, oh, that's just as shitty as Birdemic or something like that. The YouTube thing, that's a good thing about YouTube because everything's date stamped, right?
Hmm.
I don't think James would have allowed the whole film to be on YouTube. And you know what else? He wasn't in charge anymore. Severin is a pretty, they want to make money.
Mhm.
So anything that slipped onto YouTube would have been piracy, unauthorized. But I
I
wouldn't
know
be
I
surprised.
saw it on Netflix when I was in high school still, which was 2010 or 2011.
Yeah, now that's
So,
legal. That's totally
yeah.
legal.
Right.
So I think it might have been a straight to Netflix film with YouTube clips, or maybe I remember I watched the trailer on YouTube. That's how I got people to watch the film originally. So I wonder if he's talking about the trailer.
Yeah, it might have been just something that went
Yeah, no,
viral. So
no, but you know what? Any movie out there is if you search hard enough, somebody's got a pirated copy of it.
Right.
It's too bad because it hurts artists. Where's my violin? You know?
Yeah. You said that
uh,
the film was a lot longer than you anticipated. When you first watched the film, what was your reaction? Who were you with?
Yeah, James sent it to me, and it was an earlier version of it. Oh, I hope I still have that somewhere because it was even more sloppy than the final product. No, I think I loaned it to someone and they didn't return it. It doesn't matter. Anyway, they're all, oh, I have a gem here. I'm going to put it on.
that's going to be worth something one day.
What the hell did I loan that out? I don't know. First time I watched it, with my father. My dad lives close by, and we're both big classic film fans. So if you guys ever want to talk about film noir, or actually Hitchcock, ironically, I'm a big Birds fan.
I was going to say, wasn't that one of James's inspirations? Like he was a big Alfred Hitchcock fan. And
Yes. And he went to, I know he loved posting pictures like Bogdanovich, that famous director. James is self-taught. James is a self-taught guy. But I want to stay focused though on the question. The first viewing was with my dad, and when we got to my scene, he cracked up, and I was so flattered that my dad laughed at it, and I thought, this is actually pretty special. Not that I want to watch it over and over again. Exception. It is a lot of fun. What you guys do, you do viewing parties, right, and stuff like that, and if there's ever a midnight screening where you can smuggle beer in, it's special. I think for a few years, James was trying to do an annual festival of it where certain mom and pop theaters could screen it. It's kind of a bummer. Last year was COVID, and it was 10 year, so it's kind of fallen out of people's memory, except for watching it in the privacy of your own place, I guess. So
I don't want to compare it to The Room necessarily, but it seems like it would kind of have that feeling like where The Room will have those screenings and people, in the crowd all have different reactions and mimic the parts and that kind of thing. I feel like Birdemic would definitely have that kind of feel in a theater.
It's funny. I never saw The Room.
Yeah.
But I got, since I was in the guild, I got the screener for Disaster Artist.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great film. And
I loved it.
It gave you the real sense of Wiseau is his name.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny that if someone wrote a story about James, that would be a really good film. I mean, Tommy Wiseau had a largesse. He spent a fortune on that movie.
Mm-hmm.
James Wynn spent $10,000 or less. He was a salesman during the week. Every weekend he would go out, is my understanding, including the weekend I did it. And he had, Whitney and Alan went above the call of duty because they were with him probably, I don't know how many weekends, and Whitney was so helpful. She helped with makeup. She helped keep my wig on. She was helping. She was a real pro, I thought.
Yeah, and she's made a good career in the streaming and the podcast in that world too.
She is a good actor. She's very organic. She's very natural in front of the camera. And I noticed that right away. I know Alan has been criticized as being wooden, but I admire that I think he continues to train, and I don't know what he's doing now, but I know he wanted to go and do it. It's harder for some other people. It's just a natural thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the question, so I saw it with my father. Honestly, I don't think we may have skimmed it.
When you first saw the bird graphic pop up, do you
Yeah,
remember what you thought then?
I would. You mean the GIFs?
The birds. Yes.
Oh my God! Didn't it start at the gas station or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was oh my God! This is really shitty. I think the main thing was we watched a little of it, but the thing about Birdemic 1 is it took so freaking long to get there. You had the Whitney character going to Photomat to submit print work to Chanel or Madison Avenue. It was so clear, the budget. And the other thing I first noticed was, remember that when he goes into the cafe,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
there's a waitress there. And
Hi.
it's just she's very wooden.
Yeah.
And then the audio is just I almost got a seizure from all the bad audio. It's
almost like there were two cameras, and one camera had okay audio, and the other just, I don't know, it was like a flip phone audio almost.
But leave it to him. He only had one camera. So how that happened.
So I know you said when you initially got the script, it was only for your part. So did you know kind of how the rest of the movie went? Or when you watched it, was that your first exposure to the rest of it?
First exposure, not a clue. As far as I knew, Birdemic, what the hell is Birdemic? I've worked on big films that had working titles. So I thought, maybe this is a working title, because I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but there was a big budget movie I worked on 10 years ago, and it ended up being about Scientology. Mm-hmm. But the working title for the casting notices was Untitled Western. So I thought, maybe Birdemic is,
Yeah, they're going to change it.
Yeah, so then when it comes out, it's Birdemic.
And then I see the movie,
and then I get the DVD from James, and it's about birds blowing up on people and gas stations, and
but not for 45 minutes. It's 45 minutes of a love story.
Yeah, I had to take out the crying towel for that love story. No, and it's not just the love story, it's the opening credits. It's like, would you fucking drive that Mustang a little faster?
I know, that was our first reaction watching it. It was like,
does it start?
This is taking a while.
Yeah, I mean, I asked my sister Christina, and I said, she's all, oh, I never watched the whole movie. I just watched your scene. I said, I don't blame you.
For anyone that hasn't seen the movie, the opening credit scene is just, it's like half of a dashboard and the other half is looking out the front window of the car. And it's the credits rolling and it's him driving with a looped song for probably about 4 to 5 minutes, I would say.
Yeah, it must be public domain or somebody did it on a Casio in their garage or something. I don't know.
Something. And then he walks forever. And then he finally walks into this cafe. And the first word that you hear is this waitress with, like Steve said earlier, some iffy audio. And she just goes, hi, and hands him the menu.
And then there's a gap even, right? Because I think he switched the camera.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's no dolly. There's no dolly. Yeah. There's no dolly rail. So.
And then he doesn't even order food. He follows Whitney Moore's character out of the restaurant and like chases her down almost. Not almost, he did. He chased her down. It's like, hey, I know you from somewhere. And
I mean, if any cops saw that, they'd
yeah.
Say, you famous? He looked kind of creepy, I thought, you know?
Yeah, and he's like, I don't know how I know you. Oh, wait, yes, I do. We sat behind you in this very specific high school class. And she's like, what?
Yeah, but then, you know, she still goes out with him.
Yeah, she does. So it paid off. So I guess Alan
if that was me in real life, I would have had mace sprayed in my face.
So I won't go through the whole movie, but that's just like setting the scene of what this movie became. And
then you notice the second one, and we can go into the second movie. It started the same way.
It did.
Had a new protagonist walking on. James is very enamored with the landmarks in Hollywood. So he was walking on Sunset Boulevard, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, it was these credits that, I mean, it's like wake me up in an hour when the movie starts, you know?
So let's talk about the second movie. First one takes off. How'd you get offered the second role?
Second one's really interesting. So Severin did the first movie. They picked it up and it got great distribution. A Birdemic fan who had been in the industry as a producer before, Jeff Gross, he and his fiance, is my understanding, loved the first film and thought, why don't we build a better mousetrap? This is my opinion. So Jeff's a super nice guy. I haven't talked to him in a long time. He wanted to basically give James better equipment, better budget to make a better movie. And so I was first dealing with Rory Walsh, who was the line. He had even hired a line producer, Rory Walsh, who I think was recently has an MFA or recently out of film school. He's a really good filmmaker. I haven't talked to him in a while either. They had some talented people connected to it. Bobby Hacker, who was with Severin and Evan Husney, Bobby was ended up being James's cameraman. How did I get involved? Oh, it's just the same way. I get a email out of the blue from James, and it was kind of funny because James had big ideas of his original talent being in the movie, and you know that we would be paid a really good amount of money, and it was like thousands of dollars, not like a movie star salary, but. And then I said, "Oh, you know, James, I'm SAG eligible." He's all, "Don't join SAG until we finish the sequel." So I didn't join. I waited on SAG because by then it was 2011, maybe 2012, and I felt I had enough on my resume that I could start doing. And I've had some good union work. It could be another show. Maybe, I don't know. It's not. My acting career is. I've had some highlights, but you know, I haven't quit my day job yet. Anyway, I hear from Rory, and one of the first things he said, Jeff understands you talked to James. Did James offer you a fee already? And I said, yeah. It was like blah blah thousand. And he's all, oh, we don't have that kind of budget.
Oh no.
And as was this, Birdemic 1 had seen its initial success too when they decided to go forward with the sequel, right?
Yeah. And of course, you know, it's non-union. So
yep.
whatever I made that day, plus the wig, the flannel shirt. It's in my closet. That was my shirt.
Oh,
I still have that. And it was kind of cool in Birdemic 2 when they did the flashback. I had all my original clothing from the first one. So you probably see when Annie, who's a wonderful actress and former Playboy playmate, Carrie Stevens, she's really a cool lady. We're still in touch. She's really cool. She played my wife. So yeah, so Rory said, it's not going to be, I'll make up a number. It's not going to be 5,000. It's going to be like 300.
oh no.
And lodging and airfare.
So you get a free trip out of it.
Yeah, I went to LA twice because there's an interesting story. When I went down to film the sequel, they also had a screening of the first one. That was a lot of fun. So we had a midnight crowd scene, which ended up in the second movie. There's a movie theater scene in the second movie. And that was the night that we did a Q&A for the first movie down in LA.
So he didn't rent out a theater for the movie. He just used film of a gig at a theater.
Yeah, it was a midnight screening. Everybody had to sign a waiver that was in there. Will you be in the movie? Here, you can get a free souvenir, a coat hanger. We're going to film this scene like you're enjoying a horror film, and then birds come into the theater and fuck you over, you know. But the interesting part is I met an executive at Sony on that flight, and I told her, and she knew about Birdemic. And Sony, I think she was also, no, she went to Sony. She was at Yahoo at the time. So Yahoo was bigger than it was now. I mean, Yahoo is still a presence. I think they're owned by Verizon though. What happened to Yahoo versus Google? They just didn't take off. But anyway, she was at Yahoo and I told her about Birdemic and she knew about it. And that got me a second trip down to LA because Yahoo ended up doing a promo for the second movie. And Jeff decided to bring me and 3 other actors into one of the restaurants that's known, that was in the movie. And we were talking about the second movie. That's got to be on YouTube somewhere, but it was kind of neat because I inadvertently just, sitting on a United Airline flight, eating peanuts and having a ginger ale, and sitting next to this executive at Yahoo, and ended up getting production a free promo. So that was kind of neat.
Nice.
I do want to ask about this because there's I don't know if you've seen it on YouTube. There's like kind of a short 30-minute thing from Vice where they met with James Wynn. And they talked about, I think it was going into the second movie that they looked at meeting with like large production company and trying to get like a big budget for this film. Do you know about that? Or
I know about the Vice piece just because I have HBO. Yeah, you're talking about James's account of going to Paramount. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah. I wasn't sure if you knew about that experience.
Yeah, I think that was, I could only be speculating, but he thought he was this close to getting a $20 million deal for this or another movie, and then they passed. It's just hearsay. I watched the same thing you did, and I heard about that, but I think he has this idea that he was 2 centimeters away from taking off like Jaws or something.
Yeah.
The second film never really took off the way the first film did.
Nope.
And some people speculate that's because of he went into the film trying to make a bad film, trying to replicate the magic of the first one. Is that true?
Nothing could be further from the truth.
Okay.
And that's it doesn't really bother me that much because let's face facts. You know why Birdemic 2 didn't do as well? Because Jeff worked his tail off to get distribution and couldn't get it. So Jeff's a producer, but to get real distribution, the producer needs to find a real, like Lionsgate,
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to distribute, you're going to end up in maybe 3 movie theaters, is my understanding. So that's one reason the film didn't do as well. And then what I noticed was I went to one screening and James was sitting there, because if you look, there's an old piece of him watching the first movie. It may have been on CBS or one of the news stations, And he's just like looking at people and wondering, why is everybody laughing? And I noticed at the second film, he enjoyed people laughing and he started laughing with them. So I don't know if that's the reason, but a lot of the reviewers stated, I mean, a review is an opinion, right?
Mhm.
But people emphatically wrote, we know for a fact he was trying to make a bad movie. No, he was not trying to make a bad movie. If you see the behind the scenes of this movie, of how serious he was taking it and how he was a terror with some of the actors. He wanted it because he really thought, okay, I have a dolly rail now, I have a dolly grip, I have better cameras, I got Bobby Hacker, who's an experienced cameraman, I've got extra casting, I have craft services, I have real sets, I'm even on the Universal set of Jaws. That was very important to him. There's one scene he really wanted. Do you guys know what it is? Is it rear projection where you have a car and it looks like you have cars behind you?
Mhm.
Remember when they're on their date in James's BMW? So in the first one, it was a minivan. Now, we've upgraded to a convertible. And so they're driving the BMW. And at one point you see this old school rear projection. He wanted that because he was convinced that would make it a more quality picture. So did he try to make a bad movie? No, he tried to make a better movie, but he used the exact same blueprint as the first movie. So there is
Gotcha.
a huge misconception. So I think the second one didn't do well. One, it didn't get like distribution. I mean, it maybe someday, maybe they'll double them and have a double feature if anyone could even sit through both at once. I don't know. And then it really got poor. Reviewers shouldn't write as if it's fact. That's an opinion. He was not trying to make a bad movie. He was convinced. He made his first movie and people loved it, but it was only his money. Now he was going to get Jeff Gross's money and make a better movie. And I think he and Jeff had some problems too. I don't know what happened there, but Jeff was pretty patient with him. But Jeff was adamant about letting him have complete creative control. And that's where I feel a little guilty. Okay, I am a little mad at myself because I agreed to do the sequel before I read the script. And kind of going back, it's not as, the line wasn't as bad as the homeless guy at the dumpster. But when I read James's script of my scene with Annie and Rod and everybody listening, looking back, I probably would have just not made such a big deal about it, but it was pretty gross what he had me say. So I told Jeff, I don't want, this is not good. It had to do, I don't want to gross you guys out.
You're fine.
Because it's not in the film. But when I met with, I went to one of the parties down there and I talked to Evan and Bobby, and they're really nice guys. And I said, I just can't do that line. You have to. You have to keep it exactly as he wants it because he wants to make a better movie. And I snuck in one take without the line on the day of filming. James was, he was furious. I had to read the lines. And then the rest of the day, I did that line. And then Jeff, true to his word, didn't let the line in. They edited it out. But
Can you say the
I don't
line?
know, you guys, you think I screwed it up by not doing the line, not letting them they can always re-edit it and put the line back.
I think you have to tell us what the line is. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like,
getting some exclusives here.
We don't use toilet paper anymore. You don't? No, we just use our hands.
I know that the "we don't use toilet paper" line, I think that's in there still, isn't it?
Yeah, but not the hand part.
Not the hand part. Okay.
Look, I'm an actor. Okay, I should have just done the line, but I'm such a germaphobe. It was so disgusting.
It's over the top. Like you're like
over the top. And I said, Tom Hill wouldn't have said that. Okay, fair enough. It's not in the movie now. Jeff is a man of his word. Really great guy to work with. Looking back though, after I talked to Bobby and Evan that day, I'm sure it's not an afterthought for them, but sometimes I think maybe I shouldn't have been such a, maybe I should have just done it. And I did do it. They could have put it in.
It was that line that kept the movie from being distributed.
Stephen, you have confirmed my worst fears. You and all the other critics who know what happened.
I'm gonna write a review now. It says for fact.
Yeah.
If that hand line would have been in there, this movie would have been everywhere.
Okay.
Confirmed by
for
Stephen
the record,
Gustavson.
Jeff Gross, we can put it back in. I don't give a shit. Oh, that's kind of gross. Okay.
I know there was a third film that they're considering making.
It's called, I saw something about that. Sea Eagles, right?
Well, I know like when the second one came out and they posted a Twitter poll, they're like, hey, what's the third one going to be about? And they let a vote decide what the script was for this movie. And then they raised funds. I think they raised about $500 for the next movie.
I would have made $50 then.
Yeah. And they never, the third one has never happened. So I don't know where that $500 went or if it was refunded or what happened there. But do you have any ideas?
I don't know anything. No, I just know, I know he made a documentary a few years ago. And I think that was Vice the episode where he sat down with a producer to get tips?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he does.
So that producer said, James, you got to try something different. And I think he took that to heart, and he ended up doing a really meaningful documentary about a deformed man in Vietnam who made his living selling lottery tickets. But, it didn't get it didn't go anywhere.
I didn't know about that one.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find the name of that, because I think I might have seen that if it's on his IMDb page.
It's pretty moving, and it shows that the guy really wants to make it in the industry, and he can be hard to work with. But he does have a lot of passion, and he is not someone. I want to just reiterate this to anyone who's written a review saying he's in on the joke. No, he was not in on the joke. That was a disservice to the movie, I thought.
So I did find it. It's called The Man with the Wooden Face is the name of it.
That I was hoping it would get him some play, but deep down, I'd love to see the guy get another movie. You probably read there were a lot of complaints working with him, though. I guess. See, my work with him was I'm basically a character actor in these films. Both times, one scene, and fortunately, people seem to like the character, or maybe my acting. I don't know.
It can be both.
Yeah,
it could be both. But I didn't work with him long term, and that's what Whitney and Alan had to do. So they would have a different story, but he does have this passion of. But I mean, it's a tough nut to crack to get into that business.
Oh, for sure.
So you kind of touched on it, but like with the first movie, you initially kind of didn't know what it was going to end up being until you saw what the finished product was. With the second movie, did you think like, we got some better equipment? Is this is going to be a little bit better step up, or you kind of knew what to expect at that point?
Well, when I saw that I had to make a gross reference to toilet paper, I thought this isn't going to be very good. Again, I didn't see the whole script. I don't think I did. I think they were pretty secretive about it. I knew Jeff was giving him a budget. I kind of sensed it looked like it was going to be the same kind of story, but why not give the guy a chance to recreate something with a real budget, see what happens? But you asked me if I thought it would be better. Can you remind me? I haven't seen the second one in a long time. What were the graphics like? Were they better?
I felt like it was.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say maybe slightly better than the first one, but.
Yeah, I thought at least he'd get better special effects. So that kind of maybe played into the whole idea that this is just a ripoff. He's using the same crap. But did I think it would be better? That was 8 years ago. You mean after I did my scene or after when I got the script?
I mean, either or. I mean, I felt like maybe just when you're on set, even, seeing the higher production value, maybe you're like, oh, this might be a step up from what the first one was.
I thought, yeah, it could be better because they had more what a lot of horror fans like. They had a lot of, I guess I'll say, pulchritude. They had a lot of attractive women in the movie, and so I thought maybe it would be more of it would have more of the appearance of a bigger budget film, so maybe more pleasant to the eyes. Sure.
And maybe I was thinking too, kind of like Sharknado did. We talked about earlier. Once that first one had the initial success, they just kept rolling with it. And I was wondering maybe too if you thought like, we're going to ride the coattails of the first one. This kind of could be an ongoing thing, or you just
he wanted it to be a franchise. And just to clarify, I know I mentioned Sharknado earlier. I've never seen one. You've seen them?
Yeah, I mean, like the first one is definitely, it has that charm to it that it's, was made not with the intention of being a goofy movie. And then as they go, they kind of recognize what their identity was. And, they throw in, like you said, big name people that, like, I think Mark Cuban is in one of them.
Mark Cuban. I know I'm one of the people who will admit that I know there's a Seinfeld about that. You watch Melrose? No, not Melrose Place. Ian Ziering is in it, right? So Ian is in 90210, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did want to backtrack actually, because we brought it up earlier, and I just want to know James's van. Did you know about his marketing scheme at Sundance and anything like that? You found out about it later?
Yeah, because he wouldn't have done it then when I was filming, right? I don't think.
Yeah, I think it was later, obviously.
Yeah, it wasn't in the can. So. It wasn't in the can yet. I didn't know that, but I did see that van with the wings later on. When did I see that? Because obviously it's not in the New York Times article. 2 networks did national news stories on this film, so it must have been one of those.
And for those that don't know, James, the writer and director of the movie, went out on his own accord and to promote the movie, and went to film festivals, notably Sundance, and drove around in his van and had wings on it. And he was handing out pamphlets saying, "Watch Birdemic." And I feel like people, I don't know if that attributed to the success that helped it go viral, but it definitely adds to the lore behind the movie. So
he may have even had a blowhorn from the truck, like old school.
Yeah.
Did that help? Oh yeah. The guy is a marketing whiz, I think. I think he's a marketing whiz. And this was a passion of his. And he ended up having, I understand, a private screening at Sundance. And excuse me, I think that's Evan Husney was there. And I think that's what got him Severin. But that's all hearsay from me. So,
have you ever been recognized by somebody on the streets or at a restaurant?
Yes.
How often does that happen?
Not often, because it doesn't look like me, right?
Yeah, with the wig.
But here's a funny story. I worked on Ant-Man with
nice.
Paul Rudd, is it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Precision driving. This is a great little side story. We had to test with Bill Young, Precision Driving School. Bill Young was the stunt coordinator on Chips. You guys are too young for Chips, but you may remember there was a show called Chips. Again, this is the 70s. John and Ponch. It was about the highway patrol. We had to test our cars to make sure we could precision. You guys know what precision driving is?
Might want to give me a refresher.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll give you a refresher. Precision driving is below the stuntman driver, but you are the reliable traffic which the stunt drivers weave around and do their stunts.
Okay.
So you have to be very precise speed-wise. And there were probably 30 or 40 of us, and it was all Screen Actors Guild people. And Bill tested us all out. I'm just going to brag. I had a 6-speed Audi. I'm a manual transmission driver. I don't know if that got me the job, but 3% of Americans drive stick now, so that was kind of cool. I got the gig, and I'm waiting in line with paperwork because you have to do your SAG vouchers and everything. And I guess the guy recognized my voice.
Wow.
Were you in Birdemic?
Wow.
Yeah. And then I have another funny one. I won't get into too much, but a writer in Illinois or Midwest. I did a little online dating, and she sent me a note. Were you the tree hugger? It's like on Match.com or something like that.
That
And
wasn't
then,
in your bio?
Yeah, right.
No, I didn't put it in the bio.
Oh,
No
that'd
way.
be my top thing. Tree hugger,
Yeah.
Birdemic.
No,
That's
it's
all
like-
you need to know.
That picture, are you an actor in Birdemic? And then I get it's fun. I get some fans. Oh, this isn't on video, but I have a great card from a fan. I've gotten probably, I don't know, a dozen autograph requests over the years. People find me on LinkedIn or you actually, Stephen, I felt so bad. You sent me a note on
Instagram.
Yeah, but when we're not connected, it ends up in something called general. So
yeah.
I hadn't checked it in a while. The card came from my friends. Oh, it was Alex and Tess. They had just gotten married. And I don't know if you can see a handmade card. You're not going to have that for your viewers. It says, just flying by to say, thank you for the awesome autograph. We appreciate it so much. We were excited to add the tree hugger to our autograph collection. Love, Alex and Tess Ionu. And then there's a picture of a young kid hugging a tree. There are some pretty cool fans out there. And I'm sure these guys still love the movie.
That is really cool. That's a cool
It
card.
is kind of neat. I never expected anything like that. I mean, it wasn't a career launcher like Susan Sarandon in Rocky Horror.
Oh yeah, Rocky.
I mean,
Horror
some
Picture Show,
movies
yeah.
just made careers. This one was I think Birdemic was pretty special. We had a Q&A one night for the second one, and pre-COVID, of course. And a young kid raised his hand and he said, "Can I come up and hug you guys?" I said, "Really?" It was really charming. He was so enamored that this movie was made. What do you guys think? I mean, you watch it.
I think that the movie is, like you said, it's charming and it was unique. Like there's not a lot of movies that come out that are in this category of charming horror. It's kind of like Sharknado originally was, but Birdemic was one of the first where you just can't stop watching it, even though the production level is not high. There's like a middle ground. Like they give the best movies. You have these middle movies that just aren't good, but also aren't entertaining. And then you have Birdemic, which is not good, but also wildly entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it. And what is your thought on the second one? Before I told you my thoughts, when you watched the second one, did you agree that he was trying to make a bad movie, or do you have, or I mean, that's just kind of speculation in a way, isn't it? Can't really get into a guy's head, but
yeah, I didn't think he was making a bad movie. I thought he was trying to replicate he's trying to replicate the first, but who isn't replicating the first in any sequel? That's what a sequel is. And it just didn't have the same charm, mostly because that charm has already been used. And that's the way I looked at it. Was I knew what to expect this time around. When I first watched Birdemic, I just turned it on, like, all right, let's see what this is, and was jaw dropped at what I was watching.
Yeah,
I would second what Steven said there. I feel like the first one, you didn't know what you were getting into. So that initial charm and uniqueness of the movie, you're like, wow, this is something. And then, going into the second one, you kind of knew what to expect. So it didn't have that same effect, but it was still in the same realm and still had the same feel. So,
yeah. So
I do have to ask here too, piggybacking off of that, Birdemic might not have necessarily been your favorite role, but like amongst the other work you've done, where would you rank it, I guess?
Oh, just film or theater or both? Or...
Yeah, anything. Commercials even, because I did see on your IMDb too that your demo really done some commercial work too. So
yeah, my biggest commercial was a Hyundai commercial, which was fabulous. I mean, I wish I got one of those every other month, but they're hard to get. That was a national commercial. No lines. I'm looking out a window at my coworker leaving in his Hyundai Tucson. And gentlemen, that was a principal job. And that was a commercial that aired close to 7,000 times.
Wow.
including on Jimmy Fallon a bunch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, yeah. That if someone asked me, was it worth getting into the Screen Actors Guild? Yeah. I mean, not just the money, but it was pretty exciting to be in a national commercial. How I would rate Birdemic, I'm going to give you probably a cop-out answer. Birdemic is in its own ballpark, man. It's just, I mean, I'm a San Francisco Giants fan,
Yeah.
but when I'm in Birdemic, I'm at a Canadian hockey game, That satisfied? No, it's a special. My friend Dave Wold said this. He said, you know what? Even if it never blows up or anything, you'll always be in that movie. And it is kind of special. And even for me, it might sound goofy, but when I left the second film, the set, and drove back to the airport or whatever, I had to go right to the airport. I said bye to everybody. And it was like, I almost felt a special bond with the original cast. Like we were in both. That's how I felt. They may see this someday and say, what is he talking about? But I really appreciated working with Alan and Whitney, and still friends, even though it's funny, I never worked. You remember the CEO?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's Eric Schwartz. He and I are still friends. Because we met at all the gatherings. But we were never on camera together. I mean, it was a really nice group of people. James was, if you've seen the behind the scenes of the second one again, you can see that he was not the easiest person to work with. I never saw that myself until the second film, but I think a lot of that goes to that he has a passion for this, and he really took it seriously. He wasn't trying to make a crappy movie.
So would you say he didn't catch the big fish, but he had a good time fishing?
Yeah.
Okay. I had to get that line in here somewhere, and I was just trying to figure out a way to fit it in.
Isn't that the fish that gave the girl the food poisoning or something?
There's a lot of fish references in the movie. It's when Alan lands the big deal.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you catch the big fish?
Yeah, I think my friend Eric Schwartz, and this is a podcast, but you can describe $1 million. And I think he's got this thing with his index finger. And I think he does the same. That's it. You got it. I didn't. And he did the same thing in the second one. And that scene, that's the great example there. I didn't film that day, but I was helping out a little bit in the background, mostly watching. But that scene that's an example of, you're in a conference room, and James was using a dolly rail in that movie. He didn't have that in the first one. So the mindset is going to look better. I think that sums it up right there, that dolly rail. I'm really appreciative that you guys are so interested in this project. And my acting work is, of course, as most actors, has been kind of on hold because of COVID.
I was going to ask if there are any projects you wanted to plug or that were in the works right now.
Yeah.
Actually, I am in something that was filmed a few years ago, and my director keeps telling me he's in post-production. If you go to my IMDb, it's called Roy Murphy, Private Investigator. And I have one line in that movie, but I'm also a very imposing presence. I'm the thug. I'm a thug named Laverne, I believe.
Yep. I've got it here. Roy Murphy, Private Eye.
Yeah, and I think they're close to getting it done. They had some license. I think he's trying to get some really good music in there. I've said this before. When I met, and it's not a criticism, this is supposed to be the 1940s. I told the director, hey, I'm okay with atmospheric smoke. I can smoke. And he's all, I think I'm going to do a 1940s movie without cigarettes. Oh, okay.
Interesting.
It is kind of a criticism, but I still think he probably made a good film. And then I was excited. I got to work. USC is one of the best film schools in the country.
Mm-hmm.
In 18, I was in a short film. It's also on my IMDb. It's called Human Resources.
Okay.
And I play a guy named Boston, and I'm the HR assistant's henchman, I guess. And we're doing an interview. And it's a short film, so you really can't spoil a short film because it's short. The actor had a real passion. I mean, the director, who's a film student, he's an MFA. Berkeley was his last name. it was dealing with cystic fibrosis. And in a way, it is kind of a horror film, and it's something that USC has in their library. They screen it once a semester where the MFAs have to do. So what they do at USC is, so my director worked with 2 other people, and each of those had their own film, and then they would rotate and do other jobs. So that was, I thought that was a really well-made film.
Cool.
Yeah, that's sweet.
But I wish I had more to tell you. There's not been a lot of production here and in LA.
Yeah.
I am submitting on Actors Access all the time, and then you're getting all these COVID warnings that, COVID compliance and all that kind of stuff. So
If James,
I'm ready to get back into it, you guys.
If James called tomorrow and said, "Hey, we're filming Birdemic 3. We want you in," what's your reaction?
You're James, right? Can I ask you a
Yes.
question? Stephen,
sure.
James, will it be union?
Absolutely not.
Well, if it's in, I think he wanted to make one in Vietnam, so I guess I could get a waiver if I'm not in the country. They did that in Titanic, right?
Did they?
What's that?
The movie Titanic?
Yeah.
I learned this. Eric Swartz, my friend, the CEO, Small World, his wife had a speaking role in Titanic. But I recently learned from Eric, since Titanic, her scenes were in Mexico, she never got a SAG card. Can you believe it? A big budget James Cameron film. Anyway, that's another story. I don't know much about it. Would I do another one? Maybe. I think it would depend if Whitney and Alan did. I need to give you guys a definitive answer. And I want script approval.
We'll say it depends.
It depends. It depends, Stephen.
Is there anything we didn't touch on that you want to add?
They were both interesting experiences. I'm glad I did them. And I guess I'm sorry the second one didn't get better distribution, not just for my own sake, but it got kind of shafted, I think. But
I do want to throw this out there. Once, COVID kind of slows down and things go back to normal, we would love to have a screening here if we could get one in the local Omaha area. Is there any way we could get the cast or maybe a cast member to come out? And
you mean pay my airfare?
Yeah, why not?
I would come out and see you guys. Sure.
Okay.
No, it's fun. I mean, they're fun to screen. Did it ever screen in Omaha?
I don't think so.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, I think that could be fun. I missed Portland, where my brother-in-law went. I know Alan and Whitney were real team players and went to a lot of the screenings. I just went to the ones down in LA and here in San Francisco. But it made economic sense for production because they were all publicity events. But
Sure.
Yes, I will be there.
Awesome.
Logan's gonna lead the charge to Birdemic screening in Omaha. So
that's a
we'll
more
have to follow
definitive
that.
answer than will I do Sea Eagles. You guys, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
You too.
so
Thank you
much
for coming on the
on.
show. A lot of information that we didn't know, and hopefully people out there also didn't know. So I think it's gonna be a good episode, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I'm glad we're in touch too. We'll be in touch.
Awesome.
Definitely. Well,
All
thank you
right.
everybody for listening. Be sure to follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Fantasy Friendship. We're on Twitter now at friendly_pod. Steve, do you have anything you want to plug? Instagram, Twitter?
I have Instagram just for my photography. I'm not I was doing surfing before COVID, and now I'm doing at-home bird photography. So it's SC Gustavson. My SCG, G is in George, US, TAV is in Victor, SON. Oh, I have a question for you guys, since you're probably big on Instagram. If I get like 3 likes, is that good?
It's better than no likes.
I think it's the people that are liking it too. It's the quality of the people over the quantity.
No, I had some ones I was really thrilled about. I did a tribute to Kirk Douglas, and I have really good equipment. So I did Kirk died last year, and he was a very charitable man. And I did a shot of an album that he did with John Wayne, because I collect vinyl.
Oh, me too. That's awesome.
I love soundtracks. So I did a quote under the photo. The story is I got 7 likes, but one of the likes was Michael Douglas.
Oh, that's sweet.
I was so honored that he saw that. It really meant a lot, He was an Ant-Man too, but I didn't see him there. I'm a big Kirk Douglas, Michael Douglas. That's a wonderful acting dynasty family, and that was kind of a thrill. I also did a surfing picture once where someone named Jacobellis, who was in the Olympics, she was like a snowboarder. She like, yeah. So it's the quality, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of
There
the
you
lights.
go.
So I had Audrey Hepburn's granddaughter like one of my pictures once, so that was kind of fun. So
There you go. Logan had a point. That's
yeah, Instagram's a lot of fun. I think you guys like it too, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a big Facebook fan, but I do go on there. It's good for acting and networking, but
yeah.
Instagram is mostly what I want to plug because I love doing photography. So that's behind the acting. It was a pleasure, you guys. Stephen, I'm glad you're doing well, and you too.
You
Yeah,
too.
likewise.
Thank
Thank you so much.
And remember, anyone can be a guest in this show. If you have a story to tell, we're willing to listen to it. Steve and I didn't know each other before this show, and now I'm willing to call him a friend. Thank you for listening, and appreciate your time.
Yeah, I like both of you guys.
Take care.
We're all friends. All right. Take care.
Peace.
Peace. It's your car.